first point is, when it comes to technology being something that allows us to do haram, I think all of you agree with me that the same way we have playgrounds outside where you can go and you can run around and do all sorts of, running and jumping that you want because of the equipment that they have there in the open space. Technology and the internet is a playground for doing haram. Suddenly, those things which were hard to do because of physical constraints have become very easy to do. Whatever it is that the heart desires, that fancies our pleasures and our lusts, it's immediately available. Those things that before we were shy to do, suddenly they become very accessible. And this is something that we have to be aware of. That when we're engaging with it, we should make sure that we're particularly careful not to fall into the trap of haram. But it goes beyond that, brothers and sisters. When we have this easy way of communicating with each other at all times, suddenly the conversations are much more, and those things which are discussed sometimes are not appropriate to discuss. One example is the following. Oftentimes we see that technology is used, and social media especially, is used to make fun of things. Right? There's something, we have to talk about something, so let's talk about that thing, but let's see who can come up with the funniest way of cracking a joke about it. Before, there was something that we used to think was sacred, but now it becomes a subject of conversation, the butt of jokes and discussion. And we can see who is going to make the most wittiest of comments when it comes to that thing. This is something which sometimes is very hurtful, right? Those things which are meant to be held in esteem, right? Because we see it being torn apart on social media, then we also look at it in that way also. Everyone has to have an opinion, everyone has to comment. But this isn't the way it was supposed to be. When it comes to expressing our opinion, social media gives us that ability to say anything that we want and whenever we want. But often this is contradictory to the principles of Islam. Let me give you a couple of examples. What we're told is that when it comes to the etiquette of learning, there are certain codes of conduct that we have to apply. We can't just go about learning in any way what we want. So one of the things that we're told, for example, is that when we go to a teacher and we're in the presence of a teacher, if somebody else comes and asks a question, then we're supposed to remain silent and let the teacher answer that question. Not that if we have something to say, we just say it. What we're told is that when it comes to seeking knowledge in Islam, we have to be careful about where we get that knowledge. Allah says in the Quran, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم فلينظر الإنسان إلى طعامه. Let everyone be careful about what food they take in. And the Ahlul Bayt have explained that this applies to any type of food, whether it be food in terms of physical food or food for our soul and food for our intellect. We have to be careful about it. But in social media, we see that people just take anything from everywhere. Even if it's something which is somebody's own opinion. Google, or should we say that Google is, should we give it the title of Hujjatul Islam or Ayatullah? Right? Which one is it today? Like, it seems that the more and more we find people getting their answers just by doing a search and saying, okay, this is what we need to do, this is what the right answer is. And people are very free to express their opinion about anything. But this isn't the teachings that Islam has for us. And in this virtual world, we find an opportunity, brothers and sisters, to make it be about ourselves. Suddenly, before it used to be a case that we understood we were part of a community. We had responsibilities towards others, but now it's just about ourselves. Sometimes when I teach classes, I see students who can't focus. You know, we have jewels of information and inspiration to convey. And there'll be a whole class, and maybe, let's say 90% of them are listening, and they're very focused. But there's some students who, no matter what you say, they just can't focus. It's as if their minds are on somewhere else and they're distracted. And sometimes I can be sure that what their minds are is on what's going on in the virtual world. They can't wait to get their hands back on their phone. That's where their comfort zone is. They can't operate anymore in the real world. In that comfort zone of the virtual world, it's all about me, what I think, what my friends have to say. It's all about what I want to do and what my heart fancies. This glorification of the I, of me, this is something that Islam speaks out against. There's a famous poem that Rumi has in his Mathnawi. And it's based off of a real story that we find in the books of traditions. That our Prophet once was in his home and somebody knocks on the door. He says, "Who is it?" The person says, "I." The Prophet once again asks, he says, "Who is it?" The person says, "It's me, it's I." The Prophet says that I do not have friends who just say I. What is it that is being conveyed here? That somebody who is so much engrossed and enthralled with themselves and doesn't have a care for others, that's somebody who doesn't belong in the company of the Prophet. This is the way our ulama were as well too. Allama Tabatabai rahmatullahi alayhi, they say that he would never use the word I. He would always say the word in Persian, the word bande, the servant, the slave. That's how he saw himself. How much of technology lets us be a slave of Allah? It reminds us of that. Now, how much does it give us the power of being I? I am the one who can see what I want to see. I am the one who can say what I want to say. I am the one who is looking for pleasure and looking for success and satisfaction in what other people have to say rather than in what I can do to please Allah. This is something that we have to be careful about. Not just adopt whatever is the standard in the culture that we're living in, but be very confident and very strong in drawing the lines and declaring what we're going to embrace and what we're going to distance ourselves from.